Thank you, Artie, and thank you to everybody for the opportunity to be speaking with you from New York. So it's late or early, depending on your perspective, but it's great to be speaking to you all about this. And I guess it's appropriate, right? The messages that we're talking about here are timeless. We have had hundreds of years of supply chains, with particularly the last few decades, getting very efficient on the operational side. So efficient, in fact, that the movement of goods between end to end actually costs less than managing the information about that transaction. And that's what we're looking to solve for, right? Basically, the container for information, interoperable, standardized, easy to be predicted, and easy to make decisions with. I work for the TradeLens platform. It is a collaboration between Maersk and IBM and involves hundreds of different participants across the ecosystem to do exactly that, to digitize the information and documents necessary to support trade. We're actually, coincidentally, working with Contour and with Standard Chartered Bank, trying to achieve this and bringing together the operational and financial parts of transactions together. And we'll have time to talk about that more, so I won't steal anyone's thunder. But thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Super, thank you. We're going to be sending you Kenyan coffee just to keep you awake for the rest of the session.
I would appreciate that for sure.
So I'm going to move on to Daniel now. Samuel, I will come back to you.
Sure.
But Daniel, I don't know if you've been to Nairobi, but we have a part of Nairobi called the industrial area. So if you're driving from the airport into town, which is behind me here, you'll be passing sort of the old, the original industrial part. The point I'm making is that one of the millennial, and the word here is millennial, manufacturers along Mombasa Road was telling me he has to chase shipping documents and it's time consuming and there are always errors. From your perspective, how is technology allowing the physical and the financial sides of the supply chain, so goods and paperwork, to converge, and where does TradeLens fit in?
Well, I'm a fellow millennial from your questionnaire, so I'm glad that he and I, or that she and I, can have a mutual position here. But look, if we think about the way that trade information works today, it's a very linear process, right? So the factory will produce the goods, they'll create a document describing what's been produced, and that'll get provided via courier pouch or via delivery service to you in the headquarter office. That will then get put over to a container. It'll be stuffed. You'll get a packing list. Your finance team will put together a commercial invoice. You kind of put it together. You'll validate it. You've got the letter of credit that you raised earlier. You check it against it. They don't match. You're like, oh, well, this is not compliant. We've got to go back. We've got to get the documents checked. It's very much an iterative and manual process. And look, I've sent letters to my dad when I was in college because that was just like a nice thing that we did. But like all we do now is iMessage, and that's why we had a call just before this as well. But it's very easy in the digital world to get information to people who need it. Trade is slightly unique because it's not just you talking to your dad or metaphorical dad here. If you think of a typical container end-to-end journey, it involves 30 different organizations, 100 people, and 200 information exchanges. And if we take that as a linear approach, as soon as one thing goes wrong, the other 199 information exchanges that go on get delayed. Those delays cascade. And if anything at step 10 is wrong, you need to go back to step 1 and start again. So what TradeLens is doing is saying those 30 organizations that have something to do with that transaction can be brought on to a single shared platform so that information can be uploaded, stored, and shared with permission parties, to use your phrase, which I've also used many times, to ensure only the right people see the right data at the right time. So for instance, if I have a few different people within my organization or within my sphere of influence who create documents, who have visibility that they want to share with me, etc., with a UI or with an API, that information can be uploaded to our blockchain-based platform and can be accessed by the parties that you want to have access to it. Then let's say it's a trade financing transaction through Contour directly with a bank. You need to make a presentation. That document pouch that today has been physical can be digitized because the documents were already digitized. Documents is a construct, right? Really what it is information. A letter of credit is really just like, hey, give me these lines of information and then I'll give you your money. I'm oversimplifying it, but we all know that that's really what it is. And what that allows us to do is say, well, if it's actually just information, we can get that up to this platform, we can present it to the bank, and we can go from there. And that's what we're doing with the TradeLens platform today. It's not just about the document presentation, it's about communicating with customs. We've recently announced a series of pilots with Dubai and Abu Dhabi customs to digitize their trade processes. So you can communicate with customs, you can communicate with your buyers, with your consignees, to ensure that they can get information ahead of time. Look, we have customs processes that take days, weeks to get done. What if we could get the information in the hands of the consignee even before we've loaded the box on the ship, and they can start getting that clearance process underway because they've already got the information that they're going to get anyway, but with a click of a mouse, they can get it now. So I would say that, obviously, first of all, sign up to TradeLens. We're a platform that operates globally. And what that will allow you to do is work with your supply chain partners to bring information to you so you can control it. And just as importantly, get it out to the people who need it, as I say, with a click of a mouse. That's the only way that we're going to be able to successfully digitize trade, is if information is in one place and then it can be shared to other places very easily.
Excellent, thank you so much. And Daniel, just briefly before I pass back to David Pei, because I'd really like to hear from him as to all these things we've been talking about. How does he feel going forward? But from your perspective, how are you onboarding clients?
So we have two products in the market today. The first is the TradeLens Core product, which is a supply chain management suite of tools. So it can help improve the actual execution and increase resilience in supply chains. And that's by having more data in your hand, the ability to collaborate with supply chain partners and to digitize documents. To get involved with that, we have a sales team all around the world, including in Africa, and including in Nairobi, actually. So if anyone needs to reach out, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. You can also check out tradelens.com. The other product is the TradeLens EBL, which I've talked about here. And we get people up and running with 3 steps. Agree to the terms and conditions, create a username and a login, log in and use the solution. It's really as simple as that. You can start digitizing EBLs. I think it's important to note that things like the model law and other discussions around having a common platform or a common set of standards is important, but I am perhaps a little more cynical than most in terms of my expectations on how quickly that can be implemented globally. So what we think may be a simpler way. So the TradeLens EBL, like all EBL solutions, works as a contractual framework. We all agree to use this digital solution as if it were the same as a paper BL. We think it's quicker to get organizations like customs and central banks to permit the use of digital documentation, which can be done through regulation, rather than wait for wholesale legislative change around the world. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a long-term goal that we all share, but we are doing hundreds of EBLs every week across multiple jurisdictions, and we are including trade financing as part of that number. So it's important that we see this as a journey, and there are steps that we can get to right now, and there are steps that we can take before we get to that final status. So if you're interested in doing EBLs today, that is permitted in most countries around the world. And in terms of trade volume, the vast majority of countries around the world. So we think it's really exciting. And as I say, 3 steps: terms and conditions, username and login, and you're up and running.
Thank you. Thanks.